You are young Prince Meyer, setting out to defend the ancient kingdom of Wilner. Rubus, king of devils, has built a castle in the north and is preparing to invade your kingdom. Ringing magic bells, he is calling out an army of the most terrifying creatures known or unknown to man. To defeat Rubus, you must journey to his palace and burn down his 7 bell towers. On your quest, you will collect weapons and armor to defend yourself against rats and crawlers, bats, snakes and slime, demons, dragons, and more. You'll need every ounce of help you can get, for you are all that stands between your people and the forces of darkness. This is Deadly Towers, from Lennar and Broderbund, released in 1987. And I feel, especially having done this for 240 episodes now, this game really gets an unfair amount of hate dumped upon it. Honestly and truly, this is not that bad of a game. Let's talk about it a bit here. It was developed by Lennar and exclusively licensed by IREM as a software title for the NES. It was released in Japan in '86 and North America the following year. One of the earliest published role-playing video games for the NES in North America. Deadly Towers was a best-selling title in 1987. In Japan, Deadly Towers was titled Masho, literally meaning evil bell. It's a pun of the word Masho, meaning devilishness. And in keeping with this theme, the Japanese cartridge contained a red LED at the top, which illuminated when turned on. IREM intended the game's English language title to be Hell's Bells, but Nintendo of America refused to issue the game a Nintendo seal of quality unless Broderbund changed the name. One moonlit eve of his coronation ceremony, pensive Prince Meyer sits at a lakeside to ponder the future of the kingdom. Suddenly a shadowy kami called Khan rises from the lake and coalesces into the form of a man. Although he doesn't identify himself, the figure greets Prince Meyer by name and informs him that Rubus, the devil of darkness, is preparing to overtake Wilner Kingdom by using 7 magic bells capable of summoning an army of monsters. To ensure peace, Khan says Prince Meyer must travel to the northern mountain to burn the 7 bells in the sacred flame, burn down the 7 bell towers in Rubus's magic palace, and ultimately defeat Rubus himself. Rubus's palace is presented in a 1-point perspective. The screen scrolls sideways only, except for in bell towers where the screen scrolls vertically. Prince Meyer can walk in 8 directions and attacks by throwing a sword. The player earns coins, a currency called Ludder, by killing monsters, and can trade Ludder at shops in the palace for new equipment. The shops are in fixed locations throughout the palace, but the inventory may change. The palace is vast and has 10 labyrinthine dungeons. The first dungeon maze has 167 screens, and the 10th has 235. 7 of the 10 dungeons lead to a bell tower, at the top of which is a boss. Hidden throughout the palace are invisible portals to a secret area called the Parallel Zone, where the player can find equipment superior to that available in the shops. When released in 1987, the game became a best-selling title in North America as one of the first Japanese action role-playing games to be published in North America, alongside Rygar. Computer Gaming World described it as a new kind of role-playing game that differed from both the console action-adventure games, such as Castlevania, Trojan, and Wizards and Warriors, and American computer role-playing games like Wizardry, Ultima, and Might and Magic, in that American gamers were previously more familiar with at the time. Deadly Towers was particularly notable for its permanent power-up mechanic, which at the time blurred the line between the power-ups used in action-adventure games and experience points used in RPGs. Despite the game's commercial success in its time, however, the game has received a more mixed reception from retrospective critics. In the Video Game Bible, 1985 to 2002, author Andy Slavin reports that he found the game's varied levels entertaining, whereas Sean Riley, writing 2001 for his comedy website, SeanBaby.com, dismissed it as the worst Nintendo game of all time. If you have to name your website after yourself, you're probably not in much of a position to comment. Joystick suggested the game be released on the Virtual Console, despite that Deadly Towers is the most frustrating game on the NES. It may be the most frustrating game of all time. As I said now, I've been doing this for 240-something episodes, and hearing some people say this is the worst game of all time, it's the most frustrating game of all time, blah, 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 blah. I feel like I am in a better position to make judgment on some of these games than some of these other people. Sean, baby, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't care. You had me until I read the name of your website. Web the name of your website. You know what? Is it great? No, it is not a great game by any stretch of the imagination. Is it the worst game on the NES? Absolutely not. We've played a lot of games that are worse than this. A lot of games that are worse than this. Back to the Future? The only reason anybody's heard of Back to the Future is because it was called Back to the Future. How about Swamp Thing? That was a pretty bad game. Tag and Dragon, maybe? Yeah, that one's pretty crap. Raid on 2020? Yeah, pretty bad. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? That one's pretty bad too. There's a lot of bad games out there, and a lot of them are a lot worse than this. It's a fun game. I played it when I was a kid. I liked it. I own it. I'm planning on Let's Playing this eventually, because it's not that bad.